Hello, this is Phil Holoka from Complete Captive Management Services. And today we're going to have a conversation about the captive domicile. So the next big question that an organization has to ask itself is, if a captive is right for our organization, where are we going to domicile it? Now, what is a domicile? Well, a domicile is a state or a country that has captive insurance laws in the books, and the domicile is where the captive calls home. And the captive, as an insurance company, needs to follow a set of guidelines, and the guidelines are set by the captive domicile. So these are the rules for which the captive has to comply in, okay? So the organization says, I either want to be offshore or onshore. So we're talking about a U.S. corporation. The U.S. corporation has a few common offshore options, and those are generally in the Caribbean. Now, there are other captive domiciles in Europe and in Asia and throughout the world, but those captive domiciles may not be right for your U.S. corporation for several reasons. If the U.S.-based corporation wants to be onshore, there's roughly 25 to 35 U.S. domiciles that the corporation can choose from, Vermont being the most common U.S. domicile on the market currently. Now, worldwide, Bermuda actually has the most licensed captives, followed by the Cayman Islands. In Vermont, our U.S. domicile is the third most common worldwide domicile. So as you can imagine, there's a level of expertise in Vermont that may not be in other less common U.S. domiciles. So that goes into my next question. Together with the captive manager, the organization has to really comply with three questions. So the captive manager and the organization will develop a short list of desired domiciles. The corporation and the captive manager will interview each of those regulators within that short list. Now, the purpose of that is if your captive is doing a garden variety medical stop loss program, or if it's a reinsurer to a workers' comp policy, every domicile across the world has a high level of proficiency with those models because they're very common. Now, if your corporation requires your captive to do something more unique, then you're certainly going to want to have a conversation with the regulators because they may not have a proficiency in your conceptual thinking. And that's not the domicile that you're going to want to apply to. You're going to want to apply to the regulator that has an understanding of your goals and aspirations of your captive. The next step is the cost. You're going to have ongoing costs for your captive to operate. The initial cost is the application fee. What is that cost? The next ongoing cost is premium tax. Now, the good thing about U.S. domiciles is they're very competitive at the moment. So there's not much delta going on between the application and the ongoing fees within the U.S. domiciles. So you're not going to find a great discrepancy between a U.S. domicile and another U.S. domicile. Now, the last question is convenience to the owner. Your organization is going to own this captive. Therefore, there are certain requirements placed upon your captive by the domicile that are going to cost money. So, for example, a Florida-based corporation may not find it economically useful to have your domicile in Hawaii or Arizona or Montana because each captive domicile has requirements that we're going to talk about next week. So generally speaking, if you're a Florida business and these are considered equal, it may be best for you to be in Georgia or South Carolina or even Florida. So this wraps up today's conversation about the captive domicile. Next week, we're going to end our three-part series and we're going to talk about the ongoing captive regulation. Until next week, bye now.